Go ahead.
Call to order the Prairie County Industrial Development Agency meeting. First item on the agenda is the approval of November 9, 2021 draft board minutes.
I move to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved. Moving on to the third item on the agenda here, trial balance. Ron, is there anything that we should pay attention to here?
No, I've been the whole of our MBT, the investment side of it for the CDs. And so we're working together to give me some quotes on alternatives, if there is any. We'll see what happened over the last couple months with the Fed Reserve and stuff. Maybe it hasn't changed at all. Maybe it's gone up 0.05 or whatever, but we're working on it. So that's really it. That's it. No other difference or changes.
I think in March they're gonna be, everybody's assuming that the feds are gonna increase that,
Yeah, something is, yeah.
whether it's 25 basis points or 50 basis points.
You know, whether everything goes up from there, who knows? But
Maybe we can hold off until.
I mean, at this point in time, maybe 4 weeks isn't early. It's not going to matter after 0.01.
Yeah, I think it's so unclear right now that we could do better if we wait 3 weeks to see what the.
Yeah, it's not really any penalty for us.
I mean, it's moving, but it's really the 10-year it's moving. I don't think it's having much effect yet on the short duration.
Yeah, I think you're right.
On this, the repairs and maintenance, what do we take care of here?
That's our category for the whole building. It includes plowing, mowing, heat, and a minor repair. We haven't fixed too many things this year. The furnace in January, which was nice when it was a little cold when I walked in here. Yeah, so it's a little bit misleading, but it's everything. This is the building operations for the whole year, or in this case, 7 months approximately.
And you've commented that the heat actually is a lot less than what it has been with the new furnace.
It's quite a bit. Yeah, I haven't figured out exactly what the payback was, but it's about $11,000 purchase. And I think we pay a third of what we used to pay. I bet you we saved at least $2,000 per year.
I know the way the oil is now. I just got
and that was that was
69. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
And I've heard where people have called to get a price and it's changing on a daily basis. They won't even quote you until the day they're delivering it, basically.
Stock market almost up and roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what gas prices have done, but I know, when we figured that out, of course, it was 2 years ago, the first year, and then this year, so they haven't spiked yet, but I'm sure we're still saving. Payback's got to be 5 years at the most, if not less.
Super.
So yeah, it's worked out quite well.
Anything else on the trial balance? Okay, so we move on to, we don't need a motion on this, do we?
No.
Committees of the agency, there's nothing there. Old business, SSI update.
I threw it on the agenda because I know we all like to keep talking about it. Now, I guess, Joe's letter went out, you sent it out, everybody's comments, I think were mostly incorporated, hopefully not all. The only one I wanted to just quickly touch base with, unless anybody else wants to touch base on others, but is the one with the estimated, we added with Joe Scott in my conversation, number 4 on this letter. And I can pass it around if you want to see it, but just basically reading it, delivered by the company, of a letter to the agency describing the estimated construction schedule for completing the project, which is a new ad, and then the estimated completion date, which we just assumed up till now, but we wanted in writing, and then together with agreement by the company to provide copies of monthly construction draws what they're paying, obviously what they're paying to the agency. So they're agreeing to, in this case, in this letter, in this scenario, they would be agreeing to the construction draw, submitting what they did every month, besides the monthly check statements.
That was part of the
So
first
I know
item, right?
yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, so we kept monthly statements on number one, and we added, Joe added 4.
Yeah, no, that's, we needed to do that. Just because they have the money, this guy built a house in Jersey, you know, when he owed us money, and so I think not us, the project money, and he spent money on his house in Jersey or another house in Jersey, so I think we need to keep track of these funds.
You know, it'll be obviously a little more admin work, but I think it's probably well worth it just to keep us in the know and know what's going, being on track, so to speak. So that was a complete ad. Hopefully if that's okay, and Joe will finish the letter off and send it out in a day or two, if that's all right.
I think it's great.
I mean, up to now, I mean, I haven't heard anything really lately.
Yeah.
I know it's been winter time, but I don't know. So I did email SSI and say the letter will be coming a week or two ago.
Yeah.
But that's really the only correspondence we've had. So hopefully it's going well where they started. But we will see shortly.
So the first statement that we'll be getting here is right away.
Well, Ben actually mentioned March, but we could put any date on it. We could put February on it again if we want, which probably be a good idea, quite frankly.
Well, there's
we
certain
got
things,
December.
there's certain things that he should have done already.
Well,
They
the
said he was
agreement,
going to
the
do.
agreement is one thing they were working on, and I thought they would be ready by now with that, but it was implied it would be, but it wasn't in writing.
This is the agreement with his new investor.
Correct, yes.
And the entity has to be the entity we're dealing with. It can't be Highland Spa
Right.
or,
Otherwise, the
or Ron
bond,
Filmer's bank account with the $3.9 million. It can't be that. It has to be the entity we're dealing with.
All right.
and you would think, with that being said also, that the permits that are needed to do this work here have already, that process is either started or been completed. I mean, and it's just a question of sharing those permits with us.
At the last meeting, we said by June 30th for those permits, which should give plenty of time if they're ready. I mean, I thought actually it was relatively generous,
Oh,
personally.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
And then we have construction to start no later in July, we assume 2 weeks later, July 15th. And then,
They may not have kept it. They probably need a special use, a site plan and a
I
special.
mean, when I
use.
talked, back in December, which is the last time I talked to the village, it had lapsed,
Okay.
And they made
Well, either that or the
changes.
village doesn't know what's changed around.
Yeah, they made changes. They made changes throughout. I mean, we went there on a tour, remember? I think Wanda was with us.
Mhm.
And then they mentioned stuff that is not on the permit. So, you have to.
Yeah.
They showed it to us, stuff that those igloo kind of things. I mean, all interesting, all very nice. I would love this thing to succeed, but they have to cross their T's and dot their I's.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's where we're at.
All right.
So you're gonna make that one date change then? Or we should leave it the way it is? I don't want to delay the letter going out if we have to get a hold of Joe and have him do that.
I think if it's only one, if you want to change that one date, it'll be easy for Joe to send.
What is the date that he has now?
Actually, it just says provide monthly bank statements. So again, as soon as they get it, they would sign off on it.
Yeah.
Rephrase that. Just start providing it.
I would put a date.
Yeah, by no later than
Yeah.
something.
I don't know. March, April 1st, March, can't be March 1st, I think. Oh, maybe you can.
You know
April
what?
1st, I
Beginning
think.
with a February statement.
Fine with me.
which is the beginning of March, 10th or whatever.
Yeah.
Next day, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I would put.
I should put the year down. Put the year down, could be any year. Can't say that.
You go to law school?
And just that one too. I live near attorney, or students.
So that's it for
That's it for SSI.
SSI.
Yeah.
New business administrative proposal. At this point, can we say it's under review and will be discussed at the next meeting?
Yes.
7, American Recycling.
Just a quick update, and maybe Peter can chime in if he's heard anything from Harry's side, but they are seeking financing to build. Hopefully, this month was their target month with 2 different banks. So that seemed to be going relatively well when I talked to the owner.
And they're an ongoing business, this is not a
Correct.
venture, so.
Yes, I mean, and quite frankly, that's gonna help them with the financing.
Yeah, sure.
Because right now, they wanna, they're entertaining offers for other square footage, but it's really their business that's gonna carry this. So if they hadn't been in existence, it would be pretty much no shock. And one of the issues was there was no comparables, in this county. And quite frankly, maybe even a region, recent times, with the cost of everything. Because not too many people have built in the last 2 years, especially 20 or 40,000 square foot building. Certainly not in our county, but even in surrounding areas. So that was one thing the banks were, we had to do a little more due diligence on. That was an issue, but because they're an existing business and they'll locate in the building, it's helped. At least it sounds like it's helped. So as far as our pilot goes, we did approve, and I ran it by Joe Scott. He thinks we ought to have a new application, and I concur. The differences are major, but there are differences. The project numbers are different. It actually went down at one point, which makes it so you may not have to do a new app or, public hearing, but, just for public disclosure and to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on. They should submit a new application, which shouldn't be too big a deal, and then we'd have to, again, do a public hearing. Just not quite starting over, but restarting, I should say. And then we go forward, and then we vote again. And bring it back with any comments, and kind of go from there.
I've got kind of an update on this. They came to the Town of Schoharie Planning Board meeting on Tuesday, and they want to revise their site plan. Originally, they were going to build a 20,000 square foot building, which was going to house the trucks. They're now planning on building a 40,000 square foot building, and they are going to lease that to tenants. They are in discussion with 2 firms that are, one is in the county, and the other is a startup that has an exciting idea and
I know what you mean.
government funding for biofuels. So these are the 2 entities that would lease the building. The trucks are still going to be there, but they're going to move them to a different part of the site. And they're going to be covered by sort of like a carport. They're going to be sort of in the open. That's a little bit unclear. The owner of the business actually came up. We've been dealing with Dominic, I forget his last name. And,
Yeah,
and they've been working for most of the winter, grading the site and doing all that kind of
I
stuff.
did see movement the other day when I went by there.
So the construction guy that's doing all that was also present, as well as Fred Reese, who I think is driving one of the bulldozers. So he came. He's also the chair of the county planning commission. So the town board agreed to the proposal. Contingent upon all of the changes in the site plan being provided to the town board by March 1st, which will enable them to send it to the county planning commission for its approval at its meeting on March 4th or March 7th, I forget. So everybody's on board with this.
Was there a reaction by any public against this, or was there any kind of noise about?
No, there wasn't. Now, we'll still have to do a public hearing. on
Oh, so
this.
that meeting was not public?
No, it was. It was their scheduled monthly
Mm.
meeting. But other than me, there was nobody from the public present. But I just went because, I was interested in what was going on. And my wife's on the planning board. But they're all very excited. There was a down period where we hadn't heard from American Recycling for a long time. In fact, their permit had lapsed. So they beat them up a little bit. American Recycling was very apologetic and for their disrespect. So that's all back on the road. They've also talked to their neighbors, and there's a woman who lives across the street who I think owned the property, or the family owned the property. And they're going to plant some trees in order to screen and so on and so forth. So it looks to me like it's going to move ahead. Now, how advanced these discussions are with the two potential tenants I don't know, nor was it appropriate to inquire about that. But I get the feeling that they were fairly advanced with one of them. They've been discussing this for a while as a possibility, which I think may have been a suggestion made by Julie Pichetti. There's need for warehouse space.
Yeah. We've
Not
worked
just it's-
with both of those companies,
Yeah.
and I know she did suggest it to American Recycle, and they bid on it. They were intrigued, and
Yeah.
they followed up.
So
good-
it,
good for them.
it doesn't cut their costs, it increases their costs, but it increases their revenue flow in the future. This would be a prefabricated building, that kind of thing. So that's one of the questions, is how long is it gonna take them to do that? Now that they've got almost complete approval, which will occur now within the next 2 weeks, complete approval, they're in a position where they can go ahead and order everything and have the architects design it. So it's very positive.
That's good news.
And their intent for the business is still the same. I mean, they're gonna be bringing stuff up from downstate, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is sort of like a overnight spot and then continue west, I guess.
Yeah, I think their business model changed a little bit. It's still the first part you said, houses and trucks and whatnot. But there's a question that, and it's up to them to answer, but, between Buffalo and Albany.
Yep.
I think the model changed a little bit on that, but it's a work in progress for them as they scout the best bang for the buck, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
But they still need it, they bought the land, they still gonna, use it.
Yeah.
Which is the good news. I did run a quick cost benefit analysis on the program that we have. It still came out favorable. They'd already hired 10 guys, so I didn't count them. I went down to 5 new people. It still came out on the plus side, probably because of the investment side and the multiplier effect. But obviously with the new numbers, I'll have to do it again probably, but that's all right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why we require a quick new app. Our app isn't too bad if you've done it. If you've done it once, which they have. The ownership's the same, the attorney's the same, contact the same. When it gets to the cost page, of course, and the design, that's not the same, but I'm sure they have it. They already have an architect that's done this work.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure and if they've gone to bank financing, I'm quite sure they have numbers. Otherwise, the bank wouldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure.
get it, but-
Yeah, I think, again, my sense is that they've got good banking relations in New York City. And maybe up here.
They were actually using local.
Were they using local?
That's
Is it,
even better.
Is it the Bank of Greene County? or-
That's one of them,
Okay.
and then Kentucky was the other.
Okay, very good. All right,
A
so
couple others
this,
didn't, you know, a couple of
yeah,
them.
this is,
A couple that didn't.
you know, and
You know, there was a question about, you know, the ownership is down there and the building's up here, so some banks were
a little,
a little skittish on that one.
Yeah.
But they got two to entertain it.
well, this is the first time that the owner of American Recycling came up for any of the meetings. So I think that was a good sign of real interest and intent.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting. Good. So that's an update, a good update.
yeah,
For
Awesome.
change, yeah.
yeah,
How long do we have in the mix?
2 years. Well, it was December before COVID, December, January, before, maybe
Yeah.
even
Just
November, December,
before.
January before COVID.
Yeah.
The paperwork was basically the ink that you had to dry, no signatures and no closing. And then-
Yeah.
And then nothing. And COVID.
but I take it that there's, you know, now that things are returning to getting towards normal in New York City, they're starting to have, because they bring construction stuff up here and take it to Seneca Falls. So it's not garbage, it's construction waste.
Yeah, with the construction shut down basically for 2 years, or
Sure.
at least a year,
Yeah,
plus
So,
year and a half, it didn't help.
but they apparently they've survived, so that's good.
Yeah.
Of course, their costs were probably pretty low too, because they probably laid off all their truck drivers, you know.
Scaled way
so-
back.
All right. Any other discussion on American Recycling? Any other projects that,
Not at this point.
other?
Other, a couple just little, well, a couple other items. The budget, speaking of the budget, is due, we got a first notice, our budget is due May 1st. So the finance committee will have to meet on it. You know, I'll probably start, when discussions are further, you know, start making up, proposed budgets and that. It'll be, yeah, and just go from there. I was gonna say it'll be a little different from the previous years, but maybe it won't be. So I'll just start putting numbers down and see where we're at. And, I mean, you don't have to act in March, but we'll in April.
Okay.
And so that's just what's coming up. The other thing is Joe's neck of the woods, the town of Sharon Springs, and I want to mention this, is passed a resolution and they suggest or recommending to the IDA that we do so. I'll just read what the supervisor wrote. Attached to the town of Sharon resolution 11/2022, which is recommended to the IDA that they not approve an industrial wind energy project pilot for less than the minimum of 20,000 per megawatt, which is the same number as the solar. I present that, I don't know, you know, it's the first time everybody's heard it, so we have no action needs to be taken, but throw it on the table. We obviously did the solar pilot, and that's what it is, it's a solar pilot, it's not wind, or any other form of alternative energy. So that's what they suggest, or, you know, recommend.
That's just Sandy Manco, Sharon, with the solar project, it was the board of supervisors, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, they eventually could get around, yes, but this is just
This is
town of Sharon.
just town of Sharon, okay.
And I mean, I know wind is being proposed in the town of Middleburg minimally. I don't know where else, but at least Middleburg, I know, you know, West Laraway's had, you know, activity over there. But, right now, if something came in to us from wind, it would fall under our normal policy, which is a 10-year deal. I don't know if anybody in wind would like that policy. And as soon as they didn't, they would go for an exception, which automatically would go back to the town and county and school to approve, to accept or not. So it sort of gives them a no anyway, unless the project, you know, unless they really wanted it. And we in our past history, we always go to the town anyway and ask for whoever, the village, town, school, you know, what their feelings are. So I guess, part of me says there's no definite need at this point to do much, but except to recognize it and understand their feelings about it.
Yeah.
But doing nothing would mean, supposing I had a wind project, I go to the town, right? And then go to
Right.
the county, and they would say $20,000, right? And then if either I say no, or, I mean, so the point is, do we need to take action on this now?
I don't think we need to today, but, I get where you're going, I guess. You know, sooner or later, will it pin us down, you know, will we be arbitrary down the road, maybe, you know, I don't know. I mean, if they deviate from our normal policy, we require everybody's approval.
Right.
So if one of them said no, well, it doesn't get approved. Anyway, if for some reason the wind folks, companies, wanted our normal policy, then we would have a right to say yes without their approval. The question is, you know, based on solar, which I know two different industries, our normal policy wasn't very much accepted. I mean, they wouldn't like it. But that doesn't mean some company couldn't come in and say, hey, I don't mind that. You know, and then in that case, it would all fall to us. Now, just because they asked for a normal policy doesn't mean we have to grant it. I mean, you could say, you know, even though they don't have the final say, the village or town school, if it's a normal policy, we do tend to listen to them. And you still have to do a cost benefit analysis.
Right.
Right.
So,
Well, I think we need to think about this.
yeah, I do agree with
Because
that. I agree.
think, you know, maybe Borrego wants to do the tower in Middleburg, just to see what
Now, the company who's doing it, yeah, I forgot the name.
So, but they're really quite up in arms about the whole thing. There's somebody with some money in Middleburg that's hired some outside experts to study the issue, and it's kind of devastating about, you know, what the impact would be, and with all of the setbacks and so on and so forth, how little would be generated, you know, so, you know, who knows if things are gonna move towards this or not, towards wind in addition to solar. You know, certainly Carver Laraway is, you know, setting up a big shop in Cohoes to fabricate the windmill propellers and so on and so forth. But that's for a site in Long Island Sound.
Yeah, there's water, that was what I remember reading about.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's nothing local, but I mean, there's no difference between the windmill that's going to be on the water and the windmill that's going to be on land. So he's just anticipating the future. It's a much more efficient way of generating energy too. So
More efficient than solar, is it?
Right, I know that.
It's just that getting rid of the stuff after the life expectancy is where some issues are, because even out west, I think, according to Sandy, she's done some research, there's just no way to recycle those blades, and to bury them, a lot of places just aren't doing it. So to be able to come up with a plan once they decommission these things is going to be quite the process.
That's very interesting.
Yep.
Shelf life is 25 years. I don't know. They're huge. Well, obviously, you know, they're huge.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
each blade is it's over 100 feet
Oh.
long. I think. Just immense.
Because that'll be the next issue when the decommissioning phase, and what are you gonna do with all this material? And
It's
what are
not
you
just
talking?
steel, it's composite stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Doesn't sound good.
And I don't know if you've ever been up Palm Springs, Palm Desert,
Mhm.
that corridor that goes from there down to all those windmills, half of them are out of commission,
Out of
or
commission, right.
not working. I
Yeah,
mean,
2 years
it's
ago,
just
yep.
an eyesore through there.
Well, the companies get all their money up front,
Mhm.
you know.
I think it's like anything else, it's like, in the beginning, nobody really sees all the issues.
You don't see the big
You know what I mean?
picture, yeah.
Oh, wow, solar,
Yeah.
wind, that's great, it's efficient and all of that, and then you go, I drove by that, I was amazed, that was, near that, Joshua Tree Park, National Park, and you see a whole, and I noticed, how come these are spinning and these are not? That was the funny thing, because some of the things were going around and some of them weren't, and they're right next to each other, so.
Yeah, I always wondered, like, maybe they have a switch, they just turn it off, but it turns out that, whatever the mechanism is broken.
Yeah.
That's a lot, it takes a lot of energy to move those blades.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
and it has to be mechanical, so sure there's a life cycle.
and if the wind, and oftentimes in that part of the country, the wind can be ferocious, so they probably have some limits built into what they can handle, maybe. So, all right,
Anyway, so further debate or further.
Yeah.
That's why they pay us the big bucks.
Yes, you're getting into another topic. Just when you thought it was quiet. But, so the last thing, I guess, unless anybody else has more, is the extension of May for a few months. I was extended until December 31st.
Yeah.
I was thinking March 31st at the point, but and maybe that's a goal. But,
well, let's shoot for March 31st. I think we can resolve this fairly quickly. I hope. So,
Can we set it up so it'd be, set it for a later date, with a possibility of terminating it, preceding that, so we don't have to
Yeah.
revisit this
yeah,
every
do it
month?
April 30th, and with the hope that it can be done prior to that. So,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
so extend it for 2 months, with contingency of just one.
That's all right with you, but
Or should we do
you don't
6?
blame me anyway.
Should we do 6 months just in case? Just in case Ron has bought tickets to go anyplace.
Yeah. Now's the time to go somewhere, right? Well, presuming some part of the country is warm. Wanda seems to be having a good time.
Now, Florida's starting to get warm now.
He's golfing more now, put it that way.
But it's been cold there, at least in the upper part of the town.
Down to Lake Okeechobee. That's sort of the dividing line of the state.
Okay, so, you're gonna write that up, Ron, and bring it to the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll write it up, or if everybody's okay, I guess I'll write it up and have you sign something.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all right.
So we have next meeting. I'm gonna be away from the 2nd to the 19th. I'm available on the 21st and the 24th.
22nd?
Good for me.
March 22nd here, hopefully.
Yeah,
Same time, 9:30?
I did. Joe did give me something on meeting. You could go back to virtual if you wish to, or you can stay here. Unless or until the governor takes off the emergency. Which he said wasn't taken off yet. So I'm fine. We all, we're all here now, but
yeah.
it's up to you folks.
We're messed up.
Yeah, I think all of the signs are good, so it's nice to get out of the house.
Joe's milking in the morning, so I don't know.
Don't forget
Joe's up
horses.
early.
Let's get the right one.
You did say the 22nd?
Yeah. Tuesday, the 22nd at 9:30.
Very good.
Well,
Anything else to come before the meeting?
I don't think so.
Motion for adjournment,
I will make that motion.
I will second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.
Guys, this was fun.
It's good to see everybody in person.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you're braver than me. I canceled my trip